Hello everybody, my name is Jarrod Fairclough from MuppetMindset.com. Welcome to a very special video that we're doing with ToughPigs.com. Mr. Joe Hennes, hello.
Hello.
Hello. You're here too, and we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Muppet Movie with something we're calling ToughPigs and Muppet Mindset Celebrate the Muppet Movie because it's turning 40, so we thought we better do something. Joe, would you like to explain how this video is going to work?
Yes, so the TPA MMC TMMCIT 40 SW TWBDS, as we're calling it for short, we decided that we wanted to, rather than just like talk about the Muppet Movie, which we've done many, many times on both of our websites, we have decided our little game that we're going to play is Jarrod and I have both written 5 questions to ask each other. We don't know what those questions are. Just to start some conversation. We're going to see where it goes. It might be a huge disaster. I don't know. But,
I kind of hope it is a disaster.
And like Kermit taught us, like you're not going to know if you're going to get the rich and famous contract unless you try. We got to leave the swamp, right, Jarrod?
That's it. And if it is a disaster, we'll call this Kermit Swamp Years.
All right. So do you want to start or do you want me to start with the first question?
I'm going to start with the first question.
All right. Go for it.
All right, so you and I were both born after the Muppet Movie premiered, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to say, you're definitely not 40.
Thank you.
Then what is your earliest memory of watching the Muppet Movie?
Oh, my earliest memory of watching the Muppet Movie. It's funny because I was just talking to Ryan Rowe and Anthony Strand on the ToughPigs podcast, Moving Right Along, in which we're taking the Muppet movies, splitting up into 2-minute increments, talking about them a lot. It's a really fun podcast if you haven't heard it, and especially if you like the Muppet Movie. They have completed all episodes about the Muppet Movie, and it's fantastic. But we were talking about actually the Great Muppet Caper, and I was trying to remember my earliest memories of watching any of the Muppet films, and I started watching them at such an early age that I obviously cannot remember the earliest. But I have very vivid memories of buying those green clamshell VHS tapes that everyone had. Were those in Australia as well?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and did they come with a free watch?
No. Although
Yeah,
I think the one I got was after yours. Like, you're about 5-6 years older than me. So I think sort of the ones I would have gotten were maybe like the next release of them.
Or like whatever they didn't sell, they probably just shipped over to Australia.
Yeah, probably.
So I have very, very fond memories of that. But beyond that, I really don't remember what the earliest would have been. It's just, I feel like it's always been a part of my psyche.
See, I remember the very first time I watched the Muppet Movie. I was at my best friend Emma's house, still my best friend to this day. I was about 7 years old, and I came down with tonsillitis. I went to a house, I was completely fine, and within probably 2 hours, I was crook as a dog. So her mum went, I'm going to put a movie on for you. And she put on the Muppet Movie. And for, 90 minutes, 2 hours, however long that movie is, I hadn't really seen a lot of the Muppets at that point. I knew who Kermit was. I think I'd seen in the periphery, but I really didn't know who, at least that franchise's characters were. And for 2 hours, I felt brilliant. And my whole mood elevated. And they ended up giving me the VHS of the Muppet Movie.
Oh, wow.
Which I think I still got somewhere. And then I watched that movie on repeat for 23 years because I still watch it all the time.
On VHS?
On Betamax now.
Wow, you went backward.
I went backwards.
I actually have an RCA Selectavision of the Muppet Movie around here somewhere.
That is an obscure release.
It is, and I'm sure it's worth something. It is not. It is
worth a red hot go.
All right, so here's my question for you, Jarrod. So the Muppet Movie soundtrack has a lot of amazing, memorable songs.
Yes.
What's the worst song on the Muppet Movie soundtrack?
Would you believe that you have stumbled me a little bit because that was my 4th question? All right, but I have got an answer because I had thought of that question. I've actually got them written down in my order. I'll go and give my least favorite to Never Before.
Never before have Two souls joined so freely and so fast. For me, this is the first time and the last. Is this an angel's wish for men? Never before and never again.
I just don't like it. I think it slows the movie down. I think it doesn't do anything for it. I don't like it. What about you? What's your least favorite?
Well, it's also Never Before, Never Again, but I wouldn't say that I dislike it. I wouldn't say that I disliked the song. I hated the song as a kid. As a kid, I fast forwarded through that section because I could, because we had it on tape and you couldn't do that in the theater. But I didn't get the joke as a kid. And now, as an adult, I totally get the joke. And I think about like things like Frank Oz in the recording studio singing that high note at the end. And I think that's hysterical. Or the fact that like the lyrics of the song are so overblown, but they're like deliberately overblown. And it seems like it's a parody of those, love story type of, main title songs from romantic films.
Yeah.
So I have a huge appreciation for the song now, but it's the the weakest link of the Muppet movie soundtrack for sure.
It is. I was almost going to say the Magic Store, but only the soundtrack version, because in the film all this stuff's going on during the instrumental, all the chaos of them trying to put on this movie, put on the show, whatever it is. But then you listen to the soundtrack and it's just basically 2.5, 3-minute instrumental chunk between, it starts with my kids and the Life's Like a Movie bit at the end. And it's just the weirdest music. It's almost like a circus on acid for a while. It's just not great. So that was almost my least favorite. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think I might agree with you, but mainly because all these years later, I don't really know what the Magic Store means. Like, it seems like Kermit's like in that song, he's thrown out a lot of metaphors. Like, you're a class clown, but it's also like we're a store that's selling magic, but that's also movies. And I feel like compared to the other songs, it's a bit of a mess.
Yep, that's a fair point. Can I ask, you spoke about Frank Oz's last line, that last note in Never Before, Never Again.
Never before and never again.
Did you not ask him about that in your interview with him?
We did, and I have to check exactly what he said. I feel like he said something about it's from 2 takes and they matted them together or something like that.
Yeah,
but maybe
I remember it not being one full take.
Yeah, because it's a long note that he holds, but he does hit the note, which is still impressive.
He does. Shall we take a quick moment to have a drink?
Yes, let's have a drink. Hey,
cheers,
man.
Here's to you.
Here's to me. That was good. That was satisfying.
That was good.
I missed that show.
That's a little bit of free promotion for a show that's been off the air for 2.5 years.
Well, mine is filled with piggy water.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's your mouth feeling? Is it numb yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go to my second question. It was either 2010, 2011, you guys on ToughPigs tricked me into thinking that the Jason Segel movie was a remake of the Muppet Movie. You did that on April Fool's, and because in Australia I saw that on April 2nd, I didn't even equate that to April Fool's Day. And I believed you, and I wrote a status on Facebook, like, blasting Disney for it, and then felt very dumb about 12 hours later. So, but if they were to remake this film now, let's look at a couple of the cameos. A lot of the cameos are just very quick things, but you've got two cameos who are actually sort of playing characters. You've got Steve Martin and you've got Mel Brooks. These days, who do you think would fill those two roles?
Okay, so now I'm a little flustered because this was also one of my questions I was going to ask. Okay, so the funny thing is I wrote down this question, but I didn't actually think about who I would choose. But actually, no, I did think about for the Steve Martin role, who I would love to see. And he does not have the same energy as Steve Martin, but I feel like he would be absolutely hysterical in that role, is John Mulaney.
Oh, very good choice.
One of my favorite current comedians. I think he's hysterical. I think everything he does is hysterical. And he just has this like way about him. Everything's very matter of fact. And I could just see him being like a very irate waiter who does not have time for this frog and this pig who are like, they don't even know how to order champagne. I think he would be great. It would be a very different read than Steve Martin because Steve Martin is much bigger. He's a much bigger comedic actor. But I feel like he would also be able to like improv some lines that would just kill.
See, I gave that role, because I thought about this as well, I gave that to be a very different read as well, Mark Maron.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was just that irate sort of anger at these two characters, but still having to sort of keep it contained. I mean, God knows that's his whole shtick.
Yeah, I think that would be hysterical.
All right, and what about Mel Brooks?
Oh, Mel Brooks. God, that's a hard one. Because Mel Brooks is the only Mel Brooks that I know of, and like, how do you take that role that's so clearly not just a Mel Brooks character, but like Professor Strassman is kind of a Nazi, and like we don't really have. I mean, he's a German scientist played by this guy who hasn't made a career out of making fun of Hitler. So, like, to me, I think of the evil German scientists who were like working at the concentration camps or whatever. But like, we don't really have comedians nowadays that do that sort of humor. Gosh, do you have someone in mind while I continue to brainstorm?
I thought for someone, because you need someone who can really go over the top.
Yeah.
And it's a weird choice because, his most well-known role, he's so nuanced and subtle. But Bryan Cranston. Thoughts?
Okay, yeah.
You watch him in something like Malcolm in the Middle, or, he had a very funny cameo on 30 Rock, where he really goes over the top, and he's dialed that to 11, and he's brilliant. He goes over the top without going over the top, which is what I think that cameo needs.
Well, the reason he would be so great in that role is because he's so good at being scary, but he has a good sense of comic timing that he would be able to mix the two really well.
Right.
I guess, and this isn't really as good as your choice, but like, I'd be curious to see a female comedian in a role like that who can be really evil. My first thought was, because I was thinking over the top, I was thinking Melissa McCarthy, but really, like, I think Maya Rudolph can do no wrong. Right. I would love to see Maya Rudolph just completely get into like, oh, I'm torturing Kermit the Frog, and there's nothing you could do about it.
No, and she might be the best comedian actor out there at the moment.
Correct. Yes.
If you watch her in The Happy Time Murders, she was the best part of that film.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Her role on The Good Place is one of the greatest, I think, cameos of all time.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good answer.
Yeah. Honestly, I would watch the Muppet Movie in which Maya Rudolph plays every single role. I would watch it.
Can we start a Kickstarter?
We can start it.
We start it. Won't go anywhere, but we can start it.
That's right. Okay, so well, I can't ask that question now. Okay, here's my next question for you. While you take another sip of piggy water. The Muppet Movie, the title. Is it a stupid title?
Good question. No.
All right, that's it. That's the answer.
Thanks, folks. No, because at that point, you had The Muppet Show.
Yes.
This was the very first movie they ever made, so you had The Muppet Movie.
Yes.
I mean, what else were they going to call it?
They literally could have called it anything. They could have called it like Kermit's Great Adventure or something like that, which would have been a terrible title. Don't get me
It would have
wrong.
been a terrible title, but when you equate it to the fact that they were making The Muppet Show at the time, you need to be able to differentiate between The Muppet Show and A Muppet Movie. So, The Muppet Movie. Do you know I've never put it together until you've asked that, why it's called The Muppet Movie?
Yeah. And it's funny because like I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and how it's obviously the natural title, like for the reasons you just said. But the question I'm asking myself, is it a good title? Like, is it the kind of title where like it literally doesn't tell you anything about what this movie is, except that those characters that you like from that other thing are probably going to be in it. So I don't know if it's necessarily a good title. And this is something I feel like I have to put a lot more thought into, about things like The Great Muppet Caper does not tell you anything about that movie, except that it's got Muppets in it and something's going to happen. Like literally, caper could mean anything.
Yeah.
At least Muppets Take Manhattan tells you a little bit of like, oh, the Muppets are going to be going into the city and they're going to be having some adventure in New York. But yeah, I don't know. Muppets, the Muppet Movie, as well as like cutting to the 2000s, and we have The Muppets, which is the name of a movie and a TV show. It's like they kind of said like, oh, it's okay to be vague. We're going to be even more vague because that fits the Muppets mentality. And those are both terrible titles, in my opinion.
Well, I think looking at all the titles of all the Muppet movies, they all are very vague and don't really tell you anything. Even Muppets from Space. I mean, I guess it tells you that there's going to be Muppets from space.
I mean, yeah,
the last 2 minutes of the movie.
Like, you don't need anything more than that, you know, Muppets from Space. That kind of like sets you up to find out what the premise is.
Right. I think the most descriptive title for any Muppet movie is Muppet Treasure Island.
I mean, that tells you that it's
exactly
based on...
Okay. Yeah, good question.
Something to think about. Something to think about.
I'll think about it. It'll keep me up tonight. All right. Third question. What do you think they did with that giant animal head from the Western town scene?
Oh, I've always wondered that. Ryan and I have theorized that Frank Oz has it in his basement. And I feel like we've asked people. We asked Frank Oz. We asked Karen Falk, the Jim Henson Company archivist. Nobody knows what happened to it. I have to assume that they tore it up and used it for parts. But I don't know. There's also like things being discovered, like someone took the thing home and they put it in their attic, and then 30 years later they're going through boxes and like, oh, here's the thing. Like in the series of unboxing videos we did with the Henson Company, one of the things that we got to see was the sweater that Fogg wears in the Muppet Valentine special, which is amazing, and we got to put it on, which was dope. And but they found that in John Henson's attic. Like he took it home at some point, he put it in a box, and it sat there for decades. So like, who knows who's got what? And like, hopefully someday all these things will be uncovered.
Well, it's one of those things as well that, you know, at the time, no one would have thought anyone wanted to have anything to do with a giant animal head anymore. Nowadays, that would go into a museum. Like, that would be in the Smithsonian or something like that. But hindsight's 2020, isn't it? So at the time, you would literally just throw something out going, oh, don't worry about it. I mean, even you look at, I think there's a story in the Jim Henson biography where he talks about the fact that or Brian J. Jones talks about that Jim had the Sam and Friends characters and would just throw them to his kids when he got home. Nowadays, they're in a museum where they should be, but it was very possible that, because I think at one point they talk about chopped liver or whatever that character's name is, getting like in a sand pit and just covered with wet sand and dirt and horrible. But at the time, there was no reason to think that this would become a giant, you know, worldwide franchise and these would be the original characters. So I would love to know what's in Dave Goelz's attic, what's in Frank Oz's attic.
Yeah, I guarantee they have
some amazing stuff around.
I think you're right that Jim was not particularly precious about the characters, the actual puppets. But from what I understand from like looking at the archives and seeing what's been written in Jim's Red Book, Jim Henson knew early on that like it's really worth keeping stuff. and I think he kept a lot. I think he kept a lot that normally people would not have, knowing that the stuff would go somewhere at some point. So the animal head is a little different because it's so huge. Like it's like you can't just like put that in a drawer. But I would be surprised if he was making a regular habit of saying like, well, we don't need this anymore, so just throw it away.
Right. And if I can just quickly give you a little bit of promotion, you went through the Sesame Street archives and you found something very, very cool. If you'd like to tell people what it was.
Yes, I think everyone should read the article because it's got a surprise ending, which
is funny because you read the article, and I'll put it in the notes down below or something like that. You read the article, and the beginning's very silly.
Yes. And
I was like, I don't understand where this is going. And then it has that little twist at the end that makes it well worth it.
Yes. It's our Sesame Street mystery box article, which is probably easy. I don't know if it is easy to Google because that'll show up. That'll give you the Kermit and Cookie Monster sketch. But Sesame Street mystery box, ToughPigs. Yeah, it's the link at the bottom of the screen. You'll figure that out. But yes, there are gems everywhere because especially Sesame Street has 50 years of history. The Muppets have over 65 years of history, something like that. There's no way that everything is accurately archived and labeled and discoverable for the people who need to discover it. There's always going to be more stuff that we find, which is exciting. I love that.
Absolutely. And you're in a very great position in that you get to go through all these things.
Every once in a while, I get to uncover a cool gem, which hopefully on ToughPigs we'll be talking about more of those very soon.
Wonderful. Nice little teaser. I like it.
Yeah, you like that? All right, is it my turn for? Yes, it's my turn for a question. Great. Okay. During the Magic Store, at the very end of the movie, when Kermit starts singing Life's Like a Movie, Write Your Own Ending, and the camera starts on Kermit and it starts to pan out. At what point, you're smiling, is this your question? Am I stealing your question?
My question will relate to that very scene, but I think we've had different questions.
Okay, so as the camera starts to pan out, at what point, at which Muppet is it that you see that every time gives you the feels? Because it's one thing to be like, oh, there's Kermit and Piggy, no big deal. And then there's someone that you see that goes, oh my God, and they're here, and everyone's here.
Oh, you know what? I would need to look at the picture again. There's a wonderful picture, which I'll put up now, of that last scene.
Wow, look at that picture.
Look at that picture that is totally up there and that I'm not currently typing into Google to go on Muppet Wiki. Look, I will say quickly, my question may relate to that exact scene. So maybe very similar. So I think you and I are on the same wavelength. All right, I've got it in front of me. Look, I think the first ones that you see who don't sort of belong there are maybe at least recognizable straight away. It might be Ernie and Bert. And that might be the first moment that you go, oh my God, everyone is there. I think it's wonderful. Big Bird's there, even though he's given a cameo, I should say, earlier in the film. Just looking at this picture now, there's a Twiddlebug. Is that what they're called?
There are Twiddlebugs there.
Hairy Monsters sitting in the back. Even, the random, I think Gladys the Cow's there. So I don't know that I have any one answer as to who gives me the feels, but I think the very first time you see Ernie and Bert, that's when you realise, everybody's there. And when I watched that movie, that's directly what I'm looking for when that camera pulls back.
Yeah, actually, Ernie and Bert was going to be my answer as well. But there's definitely levels to when as you discover the characters as the camera pans out further and further. Because for me, the first characters that I ever notice every time I watch that scene who do not belong are Statler and Waldorf. They're like right next to Kermit and Piggy as like they're the first characters beyond the main cast who are there for the road trip portion that we see. Because there's a point where you're like, oh, what are they doing there? They're not in this movie, and they're in the theater watching the movie. But then the camera pans back a little bit more. You start to see some of the Sesame Street characters, Bert and Ernie. They're the ones that I feel like give me the most of that feeling. By the time the camera pulls all the way out, absolutely seeing Big Bird standing right next to the Muppet monsters, the big walk around monsters like Thog. That gets me every time of like, oh my, that's the point where I go, everyone's here. They made it. And then as someone who has watched this movie 900 times, I love looking at the front row where you can see some of the really obscure characters, mostly like those Emmett Otter characters that even Emmett and Ma came all the way from Frogtown Hollow just to be in this scene.
Do you know, I'm looking at that picture now. I have never noticed they were there before.
Yeah. Someone told a story. I can't remember who it was. I feel like it could have been John Landis, but that doesn't sound right. But like someone who was in that scene talked about they were stationed in the front row and they were very excited about that. And then they were given one of the Emmett Otter characters and they were like, oh, this puppet is old and it's uncomfortable and it smells weird. And they weren't happy about it. And thankfully, I think because of their height, they were slightly taller than some other puppeteers. So they were transported somewhere else and got to perform some well-known character. And they felt very good about that. So I do think about that as well when I see the Emmett Otter characters. But I just like that they're there. The whole family's together, except for the Fraggles because they didn't exist yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, related to that very scene, and almost exactly what you've just been talking about. Imagine it's 1978. You've been included in the bunch of people who are going to be performing puppets in that scene. You're at the front of the line. It's basically first in, best dressed. You get to run and pick up the character you want. Obviously, you can't have Kermit. You can't have Gonzo. You can't have Piggy. None of the sort of main ones who obviously their puppeteers would perform. But any of those Sesame Street characters, the Emmett Otter characters, anything like that, who is it you run for?
It's got to be Grover.
Okay, good choice.
Grover. I'll tell you why. It's not because Grover's my favorite character, although he is very high up there in my list of favorites. But someone said once, I want to say it was Joey Mazzarino maybe told me this, but he said there is no way to make Grover look bad because the way the Grover puppet is built is he's because he's got like a little hunch in his back. And that hunch sits right where your wrist is. And so no matter how you hold him, there's like no way to hold him where he looks like a puppet. He always looks like he's alive. And I feel like because I'm not the most talented puppeteer and because Grover is awesome and probably everyone will look at Grover to see what he's doing. And because he's so like spindly, he's like, I feel like he could be really animated. I picture him doing that thing. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but he puts his head up in the air and he sings and he kind of sways back and forth. Wow, I'm a terrible puppeteer. I don't know how to do it. Kind of serpentines a little bit, you know. But I feel like I would have a lot of fun performing Grover.
That's a good choice. I would run for Ernie. Ernie's my favorite character, and also. The great part is, like, with any sort of live hand character, like I've done a little bit of puppetry, but with any live hand character, you really don't know what to do with the left hand. Like, this is fine, I can puppeteer like this, but then, you know, it's what to do with this hand. The great thing about that scene is that he's got his arm around Bert the whole time. So at least you wouldn't be wondering, you know, what the hell do I do with my hands during this? But also...
That's your reason, is so that I don't have to worry about his hand.
I have to worry about my hand. But also, Ernie is the greatest character of all time. It's funny, though. I have had literal dreams where I have had a Muppet in front of me, and my brain, like my subconscious that is dreaming this, won't let me put that character on because I think it would just disappoint me. I think I would wake up and be like, oh, okay, I'm not performing Kermit. I'm not performing Ernie, whatever it is.
Yeah.
When I went to the set of The Muppets in 2015, I was standing this close to an actual Kermit the Frog. And it took everything in my power not to just raise him off his little perch and put him on my hand.
Yep, that's how you get kicked off a movie set.
That's how you get kicked off a movie set. Even at one point, Peter Linz took me to the sort of puppet holding area. And you walk in, and that's every character you can think of is right there. And I just wanted them. I just wanted to pick them up. I just wanted to play with them. So
Yeah.
I think my first choice for any character, obviously Kermit, but I have to cross him off due to my own rules. So yeah, I would think I'd run for Ernie.
I don't think I'd be able to do Kermit. I think that's too intimidating. Like, there's no way would I would love to meet Kermit. I would love to, like, you know, touch the Kermit puppet, but to actually put Kermit on my hand and perform it on camera, I feel like would be so intimidating, not because of the puppet, but because of Jim. Because, like, that's Jim. Not just that, like, it's a Jim character. I think Ernie or Rolf or Dr. Teeth would be different in that case. But, like, Kermit and Jim are so intertwined. I feel like that's so much bigger than me, and I don't know if I'd be able to handle that.
That's a very nice answer.
Yeah. Okay, here's my next question. This is a weirdly worded question. Okay, we'll try. Pick one. The Studebaker in its classic colors,
Mm-hmm.
the Studebaker in its Electric Mayhem variant,
Mm-hmm.
the painted version, the wood-paneled sedan, the Electric Mayhem bus, or that weird car train thing that Fozzie drives that is carrying all the set pieces when they're making the movie.
So
Just pick one.
Pick one.
And then talk about it.
My initial thought was the Rainbow Studebaker,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like that wood-paneled thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I remember watching,
Yeah.
like, in the past when I've watched that movie, thinking that's just a really sleek sort of design for a car. It would be... Was that a honk?
Yeah, I live in New York City, man.
I think it would be horrible, like, to drive a wood car. Like, you crash that thing.
It's not made out of wood. It's got wood paneling.
Well, even then, I don't think you have wood on a car. But I do really like that car. I really like the Rainbow Studebaker.
I mean, look, if I was gonna get like a toy car, I have a little like Hot Wheels Electric Mayhem bus. I feel like that's iconic. But I really want the Studebaker in the rainbow colors.
Yeah,
I want them to sell that. But what's interesting to me is, like, everyone talks about the Studebaker, and like, you know, there's the original Studebakers in the museum, and whenever we talk about like technically how they got Muppets to drive a car, we're always talking about the Studebaker. They even call it out by its name in the movie. Fozzie says he drives a Studebaker, but nobody ever talks about the sedan, and they're actually in that sedan for a good chunk of the movie. And I feel like it doesn't get enough love, and maybe it's because it doesn't stand out as much as the other things that I said.
Well, it might be because the Studebaker is sort of featured in two songs. The Studebaker's featured in Moving Right Along.
Yep.
But also in, like, it's the centerpiece, really, of Can You Picture That?
That's true. Although the sedan, which you're right, does not have as good of a spotlight as those two things, is the car that breaks down in the middle of the desert, which is a memorable scene in itself. Also, the fact that they got the sedan so they could fit more characters into the back, and you know, that's how, like, they got Rolf and Gonzo and Camilla and Miss Piggy in that car with Kermit and Fozzie. And you know, obviously, like, these things were getting bigger and bigger as they were amassing more and more Muppets into their cast. But I don't know. I just feel like that car needed a little bit more love, a little more attention.
It's funny looking at that car, in that is an actual moving car. Like, yes, okay, it might be attached to a trailer, but that isn't on a soundstage.
Correct.
And you see how many characters they've got wedged into that sedan at one point. And you have to remember that there's 1 to 2 puppeteers underneath every single one of those characters. So how cramped, like, and that's something that amazes me, is you see just how intertwined a lot of these puppeteers have to be, and yet they can still get that much character and emotion performance out of these puppets in quite often, like, you know, wedged in like this, in like a tiny little thing. It's outstanding. They're the best of the best.
They truly are. But also, I do want to shout out to that little, like, we talk about all the Muppet vehicles quite often, And as I was thinking about all the cars and things in this movie, I had forgotten about the thing that Fozzie drives at the end. You know, that like for 2 seconds as he's bringing the set pieces through the studio.
It's
I
like
don't think about it.
a go-kart buggy thing. Like I know you're talking like almost like a like a tractor almost.
I guess it's like a golf cart.
A golf cart. That's probably the word I'm after.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking of it, also I forgot Sattler and Waldorf have a car at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, this movie is just the car movie.
They had the window in the car that came out like this as opposed to down, which threw me off as a kid.
Yeah, and that like Statler like knocks it, but he clearly misses it, but it still opens.
Yes. Yeah, because they're puppets.
Because they're
This
puppets.
movie's fake.
It's movie magic. It's the magic store.
That's what the magic store is Statler pretending to open a window.
Maybe we've stumbled across the hidden meanings of the magic store.
Wow, Paul Williams on the phone. We figured it out, Paul.
All right, I've seen this movie a billion times over the last 25 years. I still can't get my head around this. So, Joe, can you please explain to me, like I'm a child, how did Kermit ride a bike?
Well, he's alive. He's a real frog.
Okay, that explains.
Yeah, ride a bike. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, great.
I actually don't understand why that's a question.
Because I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay, and you haven't learned to ride a bike yet. That's why.
That's it. That's it. That's how I'm training.
Here's how Kermit actually rode a bike for anyone out there who wants to know. So he started with a tricycle, and he learned how to balance, and they took the other wheels off, and then he was able to continue on and learn how to ride a bike. That's it. That's how he did it.
Wonderful. My favorite part is just how much you did that with a straight face.
It's the magic store, Jarrod.
So close.
I'm gonna start using "it's the magic store" like Chinatown, like let it go, Jarrod. It's Chinatown. Let it go. It's the magic store.
I like it. Well, just anytime I don't understand what a Muppet does, it's the magic store.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Wonderful.
Right. Here's my last question for you. Which would you rather consume? Aunt Amy's custard pies or pop-off soda?
I can answer that for you quite easily. The pie.
Why?
Because I haven't had any soda for close to 12 months.
Oh, congratulations.
Soda water.
Right, and the piggy water, which is actually way worse for you than...
Which is horrible for me. Like, I put on so much weight just from piggy water. But also, I love pie.
Pie's great. And I gotta say, when Max like reaches onto the field and eats something, it looks so good.
It looks so good.
But like that pie was like on that billboard for God knows how long. That must have been disgusting.
I like the fact that this company actually put a pie on a billboard.
Yes. This is a good trivia question for people out there because there are actually 3 billboards that we see through the course of this film.
Yes.
You know what the third is? Yeah. The third's a little more obvious.
So can I make my guesses?
Yeah. I love it.
Got is it the rainbow soda?
Well, that's pop off.
The pages in front of. That's yep. You got the pie.
Yep.
And you've got frog legs with Kermit.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all right. What do I win?
I can't get any lower.
No, but that was well done. That was commitment to a bit.
Thank you. It hurt a little bit because I'm old.
You are. I'm getting there. It's fine.
Well, Jarrod, that was a lot of fun. I feel like we both learned a lot about the Muppet movie today. I hope everyone else listening, watching this video also did and formed some of their own opinions, which you are more than welcome to tweet at us at Muppet Mindset or at ToughPigs and let us know if you have any interesting Muppet movie thoughts for its 40th anniversary. So thank you for watching the ToughPigs Muppet Mindset celebrate the Muppet movie because it's turning 40. So we thought we'd better do something video spectacular. I am Joe Hennes from ToughPigs.com.
I am Jarrod Fairclough from MuppetMindset.com.
And thank you all for watching and go celebrate the Muppet movie's 40th anniversary and go watch it because it's great.